Hello. And 1 second. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Just 1 second. There we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Creator Sessions series. And this happens every Thursday at Disco, where we get the opportunity to interview some of the world's most interesting and impressive and smart and wise people in the learning space. Yes, Gwen, that's you. No, seriously, we have put together an unbelievable series of all the people who are pioneering the future of live learning. And we've had amazing guests so far. Some of our early creators on the Disco platform, like Sarah Lacey, who's running Chairman Mom, and Graham Hill, who's building out an amazing cohort-based live course for slashing your carbon footprint, and Rachel, who's doing wonders in the teen world. And today we have an incredibly special guest that I'm giddy with excitement, is like the real truth of how I feel. We have Gwen Elliot. Gwen she eats, sleeps, and breathes e-learning. And when I told many people that we were building the future of online live learning, they're like, there's someone you need to talk to. And her name is Gwen Elliot. Gwen is a senior course producer at Shopify, of which I think we have like 6 investors from Shopify who all pointed directly at Gwen and said, you need to talk to Gwen. And she also runs an incredible agency that helps people design amazing learning experiences. In fact, she told me that her bio is wrong, where it said she's created 50 courses. That's actually not true. She's created 70 courses in her very long life, as you can see. And over 750,000 people have taken those courses. So Gwen, with that introduction, welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Hello, greetings from California, where the taxes are high and the palm trees are even higher. Thank you so much for having me, Candace, and kind of just looking through some of the people that are here today. I'm so happy to see the folks that are here. You know, some people I've known for 10 years, some people I just kind of got connected with. So this is going to be fun. Let's have some fun, shall we?
We need some fun. I couldn't agree more. I was telling Gwen, I watched the most hilarious commercial just before this that I think, what gum did I say it was? Didn't work so well.
Stride?
I think I said Stride. My husband said it was Extra, but you have to look this up. It's all Extra. Thank you, Jocelyn. That's right. It's all about post-pandemic fun, and I think we're hopefully getting there. But let's get started. We have, a really interesting cross-section of people who are joining our creator sessions. And, I'd love to just hear your story, Gwen. For those people who don't know, how did you get so immersed in this world of building courses and learning? Tell us a bit about your background.
Yes. Well, I'd say my background is in 3 buckets of media, marketing, and then making courses. The e-learning industry is only 21 years old. And when I went to university, I didn't even know courses was a career. So I went to school for radio and television and was really excited to learn about making TV shows. And it's funny, I'm in California right now.
Are you actually? Yeah.
I'm in a cold May in Toronto, but I actually had the chance to intern at MTV in Santa Monica in their series development department right around the time of Teen Mom and Jersey Shore. Shout out to MTV, and then spent a few years making TV shows. And I actually realized one of the shows that I made, Alan Lau, CEO, co-founder of Wattpad, was actually one of the featured guests on the show, where Candace, for everyone new here, used to work at Wattpad.
I sure did.
Yeah. And that show got actually picked up by the Oprah Winfrey Network in Canada. So it was all Alan.
What was the show?
It's called The Naked Entrepreneur. And it's the naked truth behind entrepreneur success. It started, super low budget, small, but just kept, building the momentum and got picked up. And in a way, like, that's kind of the story I want to share with people for courses. You don't start at the top. You get it going, you build, and then to get picked up by the Oprah Winfrey Network. But basically in 2012 is when I made my first course, and I got really obsessed with the whole industry and made a few courses before coming to Shopify. And then once I landed at Shopify, it's just exploded. And the reason that I run a business as well as working at Shopify is really just to stay super well connected with the industry, and learn what's working now. So that's a short version, but
no, that's super helpful. I mean, I love that, because I do think there's a lot of transferable skills, right, in producing entertainment, ultimately, in terms of thinking about how you need to think about producing, certainly today, like live cohort-based courses, right? And I think that background is so perfect for why you're so good at what you do. And so, maybe what we can do is just, start from the beginning. Like, if you are somebody who has not created a course yet, but is thinking about creating a course, what do you usually advise people to do? Like, what's the first step in that process that you tell people?
Well, first of all, everyone who's here, take a breath, because creating a course requires many skills. There's pillars to creating a course. There's the production element, or if you're going to do live teaching, there's finding your people and the promotion element. There's the actual product, like the course you're making, figuring out the pricing, and the platform. Will you use Disco? Will you use Thinkific, Kajabi, Mighty Networks? I don't know. So we're going to take a breath to start. But the way I like to teach people to make a course is to use something called the food truck method, meaning how do you create the best possible product on a budget, and being able to be flexible before you build a restaurant, before you go all in and pay thousands of dollars to own a space. So what I would say is to take the path of least resistance for you. And the way that I like to teach it is, number one, figuring out who is your ideal learner. Who is the person that you love to work with, who you can get results for, and go deep on getting clear on who that person is. Do some customer research interviews, figure out the results that you really want. And then I basically use a 3-step process that I didn't invent. It's from this book. I brought props. Wait.
Okay. Love it. Hang on. It's coming out there. Understanding by Design. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a, what do you call it? A pillar in the learning design world. I mean, all the answers are in here, but to summarize it, identify desired results, determine assessment evidence, and then design the learning experience. So for example, identify desired results. Say I'm working with somebody, the desired result is to create an online course that replaces their current business income. Determine assessment evidence. There's milestones along the way that show that you're going to be getting towards that. Milestones including filming your course. That shows you're reaching a milestone, to making your first sale, to reaching that goalpost of matching your income with your course. So really just determining how you can show that someone's making progress, and then design the learning experience. This is the fun part. This is the part that there is no cookie cutter solution. It's a bit about, how do you want to teach, and how do you teach best as an instructor? Like, do you like teaching live? Do you hate being on camera? Figuring out what you like, and then figuring out a system or process to actually put that out into the world.
So much good stuff in there. So, what I'm hearing you say, which I really love, is sort of getting to, let's be clear on what your goals are, right? And how you can actually track along the way that you're actually achieving those goals. And then sort of turn your attention to the learning experience. And this is what I'm most interested in. We're building Disco very differently than pre-recorded content platforms. It's our belief that there's a place for asynchronous content, and we think it's very valuable. So not to say that it's not, but it's actually not sufficient in our minds to deliver a truly engaging experience that actually gets people to get feedback, where people can easily do projects, and where there is participation and ultimately community. And so I'm super interested. You're somebody who's built 70 courses. what are some of the newer ways you're thinking about live learning that you're interested in experimenting with? And what's your view on live learning? Like, where do you think it's headed?
Well, first of all, live learning, to me, the best course I've ever taken did have a cohort-based live learning component. And it was a Harvard course, but the instructor had been teaching for like 20 years. But I think what's so interesting about the live learning component is the immediacy of getting answers. And as you said, feedback. Like you just can't do that with the pre-recorded courses in the same kind of fun, engaging, energetic way. One thing I love to see when people are creating their live learning experiences is just creating formats for just Q&A. Just instead of just being there like brain dumping information, if you're in a small curated group, you can get so much value from just literally answering questions on the go. And also something that I recommend everyone YouTube here. There's this great Harvard researcher called Eric Mazur. I don't know if anyone here has heard of him, but he has some amazing research on the power of active learning with peer groups. And so putting people into smaller groups, it sounds, when this happened to me in the Harvard course, I was like, oh God, I have to talk? Like, no. And I had to be like a leader some weeks, and it forced me to show up in a different way. But it's really powerful when you're in a smaller group, how you can get answers and figure things out better sometimes than with the instructor, where you don't want to sound stupid, or you might not want to ask those smaller questions that you'll figure out with a peer group. So those are just two things that I think are pretty cool for right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think what you said about feeling comfortable in a smaller group, and actually you use language that I think is super important in learning, which is you have to show up. Like that's kind of the point of learning, is showing up. And I couldn't agree more. Those are two really effective tools to think about. Yeah, go ahead. I could tell you were just going to say something
Just
else.
a thought.
Yes.
Ezra Firestone. Anyone in e-commerce might know Ezra. He has a $100 million e-commerce store. He has a course-based business as well. Something he said has stuck with me. And having a live learning experience, you can create relationship equity with the course instructor. I will pay money these days to hang out and get to interact with my favorite, authors or people. That's why, and so that's why I join courses these days. I'm like, if I can hang out with somebody and ask them questions, I'll pay whatever you need. So that's just another thing that is pretty powerful with live learning experiences.
Well, that's just it. Like it's all about creator-led learning and getting access, to the people who we ultimately want to learn most from, as opposed to just consumption. And so I think it's a good point to say, Gwen is actually helping some of our creators, which we're so excited about, really think deeply about their learning experience and curriculum design. And she's helping us too. So be prepared or get excited. We have a really great course that we'll be launching in the summer, really talking about the differences between cohort-based live learning and designing experiences like that versus just pre-recorded. But let's get back to, I'm a creator. Now you've told me that's great. I got to know my goals. I got to start thinking about my learning experience. Can we go a little bit deeper into curriculum design and sort of how you actually think about the instruction of the course and how do you lay it out, and what are some tools that you can offer the audience for how to think about that?
Sure. Well, the punchline is like words really don't teach. And it's when someone is encouraged to take action and get an experience, will the true transformation happen in their life. And so my question is, what actually is a transformation? Like what, to everyone here that's here, think about an experience that felt like a true transformation that happened in your life. And when I think about that, like one comes to mind is my experience getting out of debt. I went on a journey to pay off $50,000 in debt. And for most of my 20s, I had student loan debt and then just kept getting credit card debt and just always lived with it. But my experience getting out of debt was what I would call a transformational journey. Kind of got into the world of Dave Ramsey's teachings on becoming debt-free and being gazelle intense and basically not having a life for 9 months to pay it all off. But there's also transformations that can happen in an instant. Like, for example, when I had an old boss look at my personal email and there were hundreds of emails, it was a mess. And she saw it and she just said, "What is this?" And in a moment, it was a transformation of shame and I need to, fix this. So the reason I share that is, what could be a transformation that you want to give your audience? And that could take some customer research. That could take some, there's a great book called The Mom Test. There's a great course called Grow Class you could take that goes deep into it. I'm a big fan of April Dunford's obviously awesome book about positioning to help you figure out, how you're going to position the book for your audience. But it would be great even if anyone in the chat has like a specific question, because, in our lunchtime Q&A, it's like, to me, the dream is that people can leave here feeling excited and just have a couple of steps to help unlock and start making some momentum towards creating your course.
I love it. And I totally encourage that. So we have a Q&A. If you have specific questions, we absolutely want to go deep on actually solving problems. Because I think you're right. It's in the action that people actually learn. And one of the things that we're realizing as we design these live learning experiences and help creators is you actually learn hearing other people's problems and having those solved by, there's so much value in actually learning from the group as much as it is learning from the instructor and just consuming. But I want to get back to this word transformation because it's a super powerful word, right? Like your transformation email, by the way, this week I just downloaded Superhuman and it changed my life because it is an email program that basically gets you to inbox zero because I was kind of in your zone for way too long and email overwhelmed. So I really understand that moment, and it's transformative when you no longer have, when you've gone through something. And I think ultimately, isn't that what learning is? Where you go from one state or one place to another, and your job is to help people through that transformation. So I just love the language that you used. I would love people to ask questions. So let's see if we have any yet. None yet, but feel free to go there. I'm actually really interested. Once you have sort of the sense of who this customer is and what the transformation is that you're, looking to help them achieve, can you talk a little bit more maybe around some popular course design templates or formats that you've seen work really well, like be it the length, the amount of pre-recorded or asynchronous content, or how do you help people design, an effective experience once they know who it is they're serving and what the transformation is that you're
Sure. And I wish I could tell you it's this simple template. And once you fill out this template, it's good. But this is why I really like the idea of the live cohort training and like the food truck method of your course. Like, how do you, after understanding who your customer is, knowing when they have time to take your course, how would they want to learn from you, really designing it around them, but also around how you want to teach. If you create a learning experience that you're not excited about, like you're making yourself teach for 3 hours live once a week, and it's not going to resonate. So I honestly say it's such an individual experience, because I have course creators I've worked with who have really robust video-based trainings and then live cohort experiences. And then also I have creators that have created very short video-based courses and then do a live training. So there is I haven't found like the system that works for everyone. It's kind of creating what works for you, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that's really, really helpful, because I think sometimes people think there is the right way to do it. And I think what you're saying is you actually have to know your audience, know what they're open to, how intensive a transformative process they want, and how willing you are to do that. So that makes tons of sense. We have lots of questions. So let's bring some people up to answer these questions. Adish asked, how important is it to keep the learners engaged even after cohort-based course is complete? Can course design help in doing so? I love this question.
I love it as well. It's so, it's just, sorry, Tony's comment from earlier. There are some courses that still live within me because they were so good. And the truth is, you have to ask yourself, do you want to still engage after it's complete? Some people just want to help people move on.
Yeah.
Some people want to create like a membership experience afterwards as an upsell to their course and want to keep helping the same people. So I think that's a very powerful question or personal question. But at the same time, we want word of mouth marketing. We don't want, your people to take a course, love it, and never talk about it again. However you can do it, whether it's re-engaging with emails, just reaching out to do follow-ups for case studies, getting testimonials. Like I haven't found the way that people are doing that, but I think it's personal. And also just, you want to, be held in high regard when they think about you. So you don't just want to take their money and disappear.
Yeah, I think that's super great. And just to say, like, we have 650 creators now on our wait list. And so we're doing a lot of surveying and understanding of how people are thinking about this very topic. And there's some people, as you say, who are really interested in building communities, like learning communities, right, that never end. And then there's some people who like the cohort-based course. So I love sort of the advice you gave there. This is from Camara Toffolo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Camara, yes.
Yay. Clearly, you know each other.
Yes.
How do we best manage time when delivering a live learning experience versus asynchronous delivery?
How do we best manage time when delivering a live learning experience versus asynchronous? Great question. I'm assuming the punchline of this is, how do we be like most efficient? Because my practical answer is just giving yourself some runway, calendar invites, like good time to prepare. Am I reading into that wrong? How would you say, how do I answer this?
Here's what I'm thinking is one of maybe the points Camara may be getting to, which is in live learning, you only have a certain amount of time, right? In the session, right? So I have, 60 minutes or I have 90 minutes versus in pre-recorded, people can press pause, they can move, do something else. And also when you're filming it, you can take as much time as you like versus maybe live, your more time matters more.
I love that. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. There are limitless questions in the world. You could spend the rest of your life trying to answer questions for people. So you got to create a couple of boundaries for yourself going into it. So say you are planning to go live for an hour, but you're willing to answer a few questions async. Like you could say, put more questions in the question box. If I don't have time to answer it now, I'll put it in like an FAQ document for afterwards. I love that as a way to approach it. Or you could just say, we have this time together and that's it for now. But you want to, I guess, go with, depending on the size of your student body too, right? If you have thousands of people, I would not say I'm answering questions later. If I have 10 people, absolutely, I'm going to, serve them to the best of my abilities. So I hope that helps.
I think that's really smart. I think you have to design it for the audience, right? And for sort of what those numbers are. Yeah, I'm just seeing here, Jocelyn answered as well, which is we make sure that every class we do has a moderator to help the instructor out with handling questions and keeping them on track and focused on their genius. And I think that's such a great addition. And it's one of the features we're building in Disco is the ability to have more than just the creator as the facilitator.
Jocelyn's also a powerhouse entrepreneur. I don't know if I should call out her business, and she's got an incredible e-commerce business, YouTube channel. Jocelyn, if anyone likes cake,
yes,
how to cake it, how to make it into cake, check out Jocelyn's world, folks.
Okay. Amazing. Yeah, we'll post it if Jocelyn's comfortable with that. We have a couple other really great questions here. Sorry, I read the word experience and said experiences. This one's from Ruth Silver, who says, how do you protect a transformative experience from turning into group therapy? What a great question.
Ruth, I have been in group therapy and it is not fun, or sometimes it is. Oh, wait, okay. Again, this goes to creating boundaries. I actually worked with somebody this summer who had a course about resiliency where there is the experience for group therapy kind of thing to happen. So she prepared people ahead of time saying, I am not a therapist. This is not therapy. I'm going to host, you have to step up as a leader, and actually, if something's not going in the right direction, you've got to kind of pause the conversation or have a moderator to actually interject. But unless someone's signing up for group therapy and you're a therapist, we just got to kind of keep it moving. That's a really good question though, not an easy answer.
Super helpful. I love the boundary point that you made there. This is from Camille, and she says, I have a cohort-based synchronous workshop that's 2 90-minute modules that I love doing live, and I think work best in terms of transformation for learners. I'm wondering, though, about timing as well. Do you have recommendations for test driving chunking material?
I'm wondering if that would be, so 2 90-minute modules, test driving, chunking material. I mean, micro learning, nano learning is all the rage these days. So when I'm wondering if that means new material, are you reading that as new material to put into the 90-minute modules, or?
Yeah, maybe Camille can kind of be more specific if she wants in the Q&A. But even just what I'm interested in is this notion of test driving. I know a lot of your recommendations and work is to iterate, right? Is to experiment. And so can you tell us how you recommend people do that for their content? Because I think that's super smart and helpful.
I think one of the easiest ways to do this when you're experimenting is telling everyone this is a beta group. This is a beta, or like, this is my, what do you call it? What's the word people use these days? They don't say it's a test group, but you say it's a introductory pricing. Like, there's a marketing term. Pilot? Yes. No. There's another word, but basically you communicate to people that this is new. This is at a special price point because this is untested. This is, early bird. God, I'm going to get this word, but you get the idea that you're being honest with people. Don't sell it at the high price point if you have no idea if this is going to work. But people love an experiment. I'd love to join someone's experiment and kind of get some great results in the early days. So you got to get the right customer though. That's the thing.
So making sure you're getting the people you want, who are going to do the test, that it actually resonates for the people who you imagine will pay you is super important if you're going to do that.
Just transparency that this is a new way I'm doing this, but I also think you got to get paid. Don't just do it for free, because when people pay attention to what they pay for, and if I pay for something that is a bit of an investment, I'm going to show up usually.
Yeah, I think pricing is a really important topic. And, we're very passionate about that. Like, one of the things you and I were talking about just before we came on is just the pricing pressure on pre-recorded courses. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in pricing as it relates to cohort-based and live? And, just how people should think about pricing and how it differs from just pre-recorded?
Yeah, I feel like there's been a dramatic shift even in the last year. Like, everyone was teaching premium priced, 4-figure courses, even if it's pre-recorded. But in the last year, the world has shifted, and it might seem a little insensitive for some audiences to charge thousands of dollars for a course. But that is why the hybrid of live teaching and a pre-recorded course is so powerful, because you can sell the pre-recorded content at a lower price point. And if you want a more elevated, engaging experience, you can charge higher price points to get to work with the instructor. So it's changing, but at the end of the day, you got to choose a price that honors your work and your value and makes you excited to sell it.
Absolutely. I love the honor your value, because I think that's super important. It's a lot of work to do this, and that works for the market. Moving on from pricing, a big question that we often get, and I'm super interested to hear what you have to say, is just timing. What is the secret recipe? This is from Danny. Is there a secret recipe for the ideal amount of time a cohort-based course should take place over? For example, should it be 6 weeks? Should it be a weekend crash course? Should it be a 10-day challenge? How do you suggest people, think about timing?
Oh, this is such a good question, because I see a lot, like the trend right now is for people to pack in, super like world-class expert people packing in everything they've ever learned in 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but I don't think I can master what you've learned in 20 years in 3 weeks. So this comes down to what is the result you want to get for people, and being a bit realistic on how long does it actually take to get those results.
Right.
And also, like, for example, if I was to teach someone how to make a course, I can create a course in a day at this point, done in a day, or sorry, the curriculum in a day. But I don't expect that for somebody who's, starting out for the first time. So this goes down back to your customer, what's their lifestyle like? Do you think they'd actually want to be a part of something for 8 weeks? Or do you think they'd want a more boot camp style 1 or 2 nights? This is part of the testing as well. But you can still charge high price points if it's not like an 8-week experience. Sometimes the efficiency of teaching can also cause a higher price point.
That's so interesting. So you're saying, because I think a lot of people make their courses fairly long so that they feel they can charge a higher price point, but actually sometimes people want the efficiency of, like, in a weekend, you're going to learn X, but it's a more intensive experience. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. This one, hi, Sebastian. I love that there's people from all over the world joining us. Sebastian's from Lima, Peru. And his question is one, yes, can you please repeat the name of the first book you recommended? I'm actually going to say all the books you recommend. Let's throw them on Twitter at some point, or our team here can do that for sure. Look at you there. Awesome. Yes, I also we're going to talk about that in a minute. There you go. Yeah, but the other question, which is such a great question, is what's the right cohort size? Like, for a single cohort, how many people can you actually have in a single cohort without losing the term, and this is a great term, relationship equity between the student and instructor? What do you think works?
Yes. Okay, well, to answer Sebastian's first question, the book is called Understanding by Design, Grant Wiggins, Jay McTighe. It's so funny. I feel like in the course world, there's like learning designers first and then marketers first. I'm trying to be in that middle ground, but some of the best learning designers in the world, like, this book cover is not doing this book justice. Like, I would never pick this up unless somebody told me. Okay, so great question. I love to start small. And creating, small could be 30 people or less. It could be 10 people or less, whatever you consider small and manageable for your lifestyle and your ability to support people. I had the best cohort-based experience of my life in a class of 30. Mm-hmm. Now, I've also been a part of courses like Marie Forleo's B School, which is cohort-based courses, and she has 50,000 people who have gone through B School.
At the same time, there's 50,000.
She's 50,000 students in general. And yeah. I've been a member, I guess, for over 5 years. And every year she does a new cohort, and you can jump onto the live calls and be a part of it. And she's found a way to scale that. I don't know any of her engagement and that kind of thing, but it's still extremely powerful. She's a leader in this space. Mm-hmm. So it's really a personal thing of what you can manage. And, but yeah, to me, 30 was great. But you can also do thousands.
Yeah, I think it's such an important point, is this notion of scarcity and scale. And sort of just like you said, when you start, you're not starting with the thousands in mind, but what gets us really excited and the ambitions of a lot of our alpha creators is the idea of scaling. And, one of the things that we're really thinking deeply about is breakout rooms and is scaling virtual facilitators and teaching teachers so that you can have like really, really powerful scaled experiences. But I think that's a really good point. I've also heard number-wise, like anywhere between 24 to 40 is that like it breaks after 40 is kind of what I've heard. So super, super helpful to think about.
I feel like your interview with Seth Godin will be powerful because Alt MBA, he's the only person I know that's found a way to scale his program without him being involved in everything, which I think is wild. I've never been in Alt MBA, but it just seems interesting that he was able to do that without him being like the face of it.
100%. And actually, so thank you for bringing that up. We are interviewing Seth. He's like really, I think, one of the pioneers of this format, you know, and his pedagogy of like how to create enrolled and engaging experiences is super interesting. We also did an interview with him a few months ago that I'll post to this audience where he talks about that as well. And I think, you know, ultimately we're at the early innings of where these courses are going to go, you know, and that's why we're so honored to work with you and others to help us, you know, design this. We have a couple more questions and then I have still more questions of my own. So are we good to go until like 1:45? Does that work for you, Gwen?
Yeah. Thanks everyone for sticking around.
Yeah, no, the super engaged audience. You know, I'm going to try to get to most of these because they're just really great questions. So one of the questions here is the one that I wanted to ask you about. And maybe I'm very curious why you had Eckhart Tolle's book up there as well. So it's a sub question after this, but this is from Ariane. And she says, what are some of your personal strategies to engage learners and create a transformative experience in the course you create? Give
Absolutely.
us your secrets.
I mean, the Q&A is huge. Just answering a question that comes in, very simple. Having the smaller, groups. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't not engage if there's 4 of you in a group. Creating actual activities for people to do. Like I once was attending a course that had a scavenger hunt in the orientation, which sounds annoying, but it was actually really fun because it was actually a valuable scavenger hunt, not just a random one that throws you out into the wind. Because there's something called the twin sins in instructional design when you have too much content coverage and you don't go deep enough into the content. And so yeah, just having an actual gamified situation. Also, something that's really powerful is case studies. I've seen this with Shopify feedback. I've seen this just in general. It's something I want is really sharing the stories of people who have learned and are where you want to be, like live interviews or just something they can read to help them see how they can get to where they are.
So good. The game thing is really interesting to me. You know, tell me more. Do you have any resources of interesting scavenger hunts that are other games? And like, why is that games? Because I've also had this experience where like, you're like, oh, this is so silly. I'm doing this game. And then by the end, I've like made best friends with, you know, these people before I've started the course. You know, tell me more about that.
Yes. Well, I always feel so annoyed. This is going to sound weird, but I always feel so annoyed when I actually have to do something and which sounds so, but once you're in it, it's fun. And right. The app that was being used was called Goose Chase, just a like simple like app to help you create a scavenger hunt, but it was to help you get oriented, set up for success in the course. And you had to just do little things. And it's so rewarding to just get to like the green check. Like I set this up, just, you know, helping people feel like a winner from the jump was really what that game was about. But don't create a game just to create a game. Unless just knowing your ideal customer is really key here. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're all just like children that grew up. We like games, you know, games.
I love that. No, and it goes back to the entertainment part, right? Like learning should be fun, you know, that's such a key value. You know, there's so much old school learning that wasn't fun that I think people have like trauma from like what they thought learning was to ultimately what it can be. So I have to ask you about Eckhart Tolle. What is Power of Now doing as part of your book recommendations?
I mean, I just like reading from enlightened humans. I mean, I'm just trying to get on his level, then I won't worry about anything. But what's so great about the Power of Now is just the idea that if you're thinking about the future, it's causing you anxiety. If you're thinking about the past, it's causing you stress. If you can just be in the now, you are where you are, it's all good. So I just like to literally open up this book to any page and just say, what's the message for today, Eckhart? Yeah. And the message right now is stress is caused by being here, but wanting to be there, or being in the present, but wanting to be in the future.
Whoa.
Thanks,
Yes, that is very, very deep for what we're doing, but it's so true. I mean, I think that's why live, authentic, present experiences are transformational. Like you totally hit the nail on the head, which is you can't do that in a pre-recorded course because you're kind of doing a bunch of stuff. You're not like there, you're not, in it. And that's, I love that you go to such deep wisdom, but it's so profound in terms of what we are doing. So we have 3 minutes left. And, Gwen, you are not only an amazing course designer, but you're also an incredible marketer. And so I would be remiss to not ask you, your words of wisdom on marketing courses. What are some of your pieces of advice for our community around how to best market?
I mean, to me, the best marketing tool is your network. So many people think, oh, I'm launching a course. I got to create ads. I got to do webinars. I got to do this and that. For the first launch, let's just start with who you know. Just reaching out to your network, setting a reasonable goal for the first cohort, and just launch and learn. Keep it easy for the first launch. I mean, I could product placement, direct everyone to Grow Class, which is a course all about marketing. But that's just a random thing. That is awesome.
It's not random because our last guest literally did the exact same thing. So like I'm chatting with Sarah and actually next week, and you are now the second guest who has directed people. So this course must be really good. And I know that you helped create it, so I'm sure it's exceptional.
So great. But what's also kind of interesting is it all comes down to where your ideal customer lives. Mm-hmm. Are they living on LinkedIn? Are they on TikTok? Where are they? And go ham in that area. And this also can come down to April's book about Obviously Awesome and figuring out the positioning, because I feel like so many people I work with are trying to go like B2C, like trying to just reach the masses. But what if you're actually trying to pitch businesses? Like what if you're trying to pitch Shopify and can make way more money, have way bigger impact by pitching your training to a company versus the people? So figuring out who your customer is, that's like my number one takeaway. Who do you want to help? That's really what it's about here. That's how you start.
It's who. It's totally all about the who. I think that's so helpful though for people, right? Because if you don't know who the who is, then how is your course going to deliver for that who, which is ultimately what you're saying. Gwen, you're going to have to come back because there's like a whole set of questions that we haven't even got to. And you've just been amazing, super, super insightful and helpful. And, I just want to tell everybody, if you don't know Gwen and her incredibly successful and helpful online agency, I hope you now know what Gwen is capable of. And we're just super excited to have you in our Disco family and to be working with you. And we didn't even get to Shopify and all of the amazing work you're doing there. Because we actually think, maybe this is part 2. We'll talk about businesses using courses, and we'll invite you back for, a special edition just on that alone, because we think that's so big, using learning for talent and talent acquisition, talent development, marketing acquisition, marketing retention. So thank you. Any words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with as we wrap this up?
Yes. Number one, if I didn't answer your question or you're unsatisfied with my answer because it was too vague, feel free to message me on Twitter at Gwen Elliot, and I will answer your question until we get you a satisfactory answer. You can also try messaging me for a coffee date. Sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no, but I would love to help you if I can. And words of advice, just go for a walk. That's my words of advice. Go for a walk and dream about what could be possible with your course. Get excited about the dream of it before you get into the nitty-gritty details about how am I going to film this thing? How am I going to make this thing? Because the right people will start to show up in your life. They exist. There's 1,000 people who are marketers, production people, course curriculum designers who are there and want to find you. So go for a walk, dream about it, write what you need help with, and then get started.
She is a wise woman. I seriously did that, and Gwen Elliot showed up in my life. So whatever she's talking about, it works. It's true. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. This happens every Thursday. We have phenomenal guests like Gwen. Next Thursday, we have an unbelievable guest, my very good friend, also an investor, Tarun Sakdeva, who worked with me in building Wattpad, and then became the GM of learning at Endeavor, the talent agency. So he is like super ninja smart on courses as well. So join us next Thursday, Gwen. You're welcome.
Yeah, coming back.
Come back. And thank you all. The engagement was so awesome. Loved having your questions. And have a wonderful day. Go for a walk. See you next week. Bye.